there, everyone. Oh my goodness, we are back with session number 4 of this lovely short series that we've been calling Embracing Your Voice, Unleashing Your Power Within. My name is Patricia Hayes. I'm executive advisor, leadership empowerment coach, and authentic networking strategist. All those words mean I love working with people who are looking to get to the next level of where they want to be in their life and their career, but to do it in a sustainable manner that's aligned with their values. And with me here today is my dear friend, Brienne. How are you doing, dear?
So delightful. Happy that we are doing the thing. This is 4x4. I love it.
I know, we've done it. Okay, so make sure you go ahead and tell the people about yourself quickly, because, we've been doing this. So if you've missed out, you're going to have to go back and catch the playlist and all the things in the notes, because we have lots of things and goodies for you, of course. And then today's topic, we are talking about bias in women's voices and the empowerment from within and intuition. And Brienne's going to lead us in this conversation because I could go on for hours.
I love it. Thank you, friend. Yes. So as Patricia said, I am Brienne, and I really focus on working with those in leadership, executives, educators, those who need their voice to do their job, to ensure that your voice rises above the rest. How is that possible? For me, it is comes through when you are taking care of this instrument and tuning into your inner voice, your intuition, which we're going to get into today. One of the other components that brings people to my door is not just, oh, Brienne, my voice isn't doing what I need it to do. I have a big talk tomorrow. I have to lead my team this week. I have tons of client calls. I'm not being heard. Is people don't like the way my voice sounds. Okay, tell me more. And they'll go anywhere from, I get chastised for my tone of voice, which is very fascinating because I used to have personal experience with that as well, to people say I'm too low, too high, too shrill, too brash, all of these different descriptors. And what I find most interesting about that is those folks who are telling me that most often are women. Nope, just checking. Never had a man come and mention that. And they'll come for the components of the voice function, things not working, but never about how they're perceived or their tone of voice. Now, when we look at tone of voice, one of the things that is important with this is that it is just natural to who we are. The moment we're expressing ourselves, whatever the context is, it's going to change. I hope so. I would not want anyone to feel like they're stuck in kind of a monotone, really, neutral space like this, because this isn't any fun to listen to. Okay. So I don't necessarily mean tone of voice specifically related to how you modulate your pitch and your volume, although that is some of the work. This is that tone of voice where someone says something and you're like, well, that's definitely not what they meant. Nope. I heard the realness underneath that. I don't care what words you were using.
Yes.
And when
it's the whole mama scene of like, I don't care what you said. I know what you meant.
Exactly. So how we say something definitely impacts sometimes much more than what we're saying. And what I've seen over the years is that when we look at that from a physical, functional standpoint, for some people, that can actually cause an issue with their voice. Because imagine if you're constantly saying things that then the tone of voice doesn't match, and you either kind of sense like, oh, that's not what I meant, or maybe I could rewind, or you're ruminating over it day in, day out, or you're getting unsolicited feedback, that can be really stressful. I had a woman I worked with years back, and she was in a sales position within like an assisted living facility, but she wanted to advance to director. And they continued to tell her no, because the way she would speak to the sales team was not being received well. So she was like, I need to know what to do. But interestingly, she was coming for voice strain. I feel like I can't project my voice. I feel like it hurts here. And what's going on? Well, unraveling the layers, and not only did she not believe yet she was ready for the director position, even though she really wanted it, she didn't think she could because it was more of a male dominated space in that particular facility. but she'd gotten so much of that negative feedback about her tone that she was more focused on like, how do I just make it sound better for them?
Yes.
Nope. We got to start here with us from within. And in doing that, that's when the tone and the voice physical vibration starts to match, starts to resonate. So that's the biggest piece I want to say on tone today, because I see you. I see you folks who are out there. This happened to me for years. People, I don't like the way you said that. What? I was just trying. But if you keep pushing, trying to make it something that you think they want to hear or how you're supposed to say it, it ends up being so far from you.
Yes.
And that's when breakdowns in communication, personally, in humble experience, and professionally, also from experience, can happen.
Yes.
So I'd love to hear, for those of you like watching and everything, just tell us in the chat if you've had those problems or anything like that, because I hear from women so often that I'm misunderstood, and no matter what I say, it doesn't seem to land. And that's when we got to get at the deeper core.
And this really gets to that whole an empowerment thing. And you're right, it happens mostly for women. You don't hear men coming saying, oh, someone says I was too X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
too
authoritative. Like that never happens.
Oh, you're too authoritative.
Can you imagine? I know.
Really?
And then what's interesting is we see then in hiring HR folks, well, we know there's bias all over, but there's hiring issues. So then it goes even before you're in that position of leadership as a woman and already dealing. Oh, look, I'm celebrating. Thanks so much, Zoom and StreamYard. I love you so much. Yay, hand gesture. I'm a hand talker. So in that, I'm very passionate about this. In that, so then we're going back to, interestingly, women get this feedback a lot, and yet they are also just as susceptible to bias when it comes to hiring.
Yes.
Because if you hear someone's voice that you don't particularly prefer, or has that mismatch of, put on, or their tone doesn't seem to be trustworthy, truthful, whatever the word is you're going to use, that effect on you even landing a job is huge.
Yes.
It's huge. And so, add it to the pile of so many biases for folks of all walks of life. And that's just one of those things that I think, it just doesn't have to be that way.
We can't even begin to touch, but I have to at least lay it out there to say it, because it's for women, and especially women of color, Black women in particular. I mean, there's historical evidence of that happening a lot. It's like, oh, you're too brash, too and fill in the word.
Exactly. Fill in the word. Heaven forbid we use the word angry.
Yeah.
Like, just because you are channeling that passion, power in the sound, and those things disrupt the status quo and the norms that people expect. But also, what does it say about how we are already auditorily conditioned to think that women, especially women of color, should talk, should act? Can we even, code switching is a whole nother topic.
I was just about to say it. Like I said, that's a whole other thing.
I know. So here we go. So yes, we're staying in the voice component today, but then yes, we have the language, we have all of those pieces. And that is where I think there's so much more potential for when people go, you know what? I will show up in my most natural and an authentic and aligned voice. And when you feel good in that resonates, and whoever doesn't hear it isn't meant for you.
That's right. And that's that piece of coming to terms with, and this is that internal, right? Of coming to terms with, like you were saying, who you are authentically, and knowing that you have to, so many things. Maintain your boundaries, engage in self-care. But the real point I'm getting to is that self-advocacy.
Yes. So how many times and I've been guilty of it. How many times do you think, oh, I really wanted to say something. I really wanted to speak up. I really didn't want to do that, or say yes to whatever the thing is. And you don't. And for some people, they already know kind of ways to truly let that go, to just be like, okay, fine. But I know for me, I spent years like overthinking that, and I ruminating, and wish I would have saying this, and just critically judging myself for not speaking up in the way that I intended. and thinking it could have gone better, when in actuality, there are absolutely ways to know what's true for you, know what those boundaries and values are that you hold to, and your communication is going to flow so much more fluidly from that.
Yes.
It's just going to be a natural part of you without it, being externally sourced.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's going to be, I don't know, we're just going to play that one back and figure out what that quote is, externally sourced. I know y'all are like, Trisha is so silly. I'm consistent, okay?
It's so great. I love it.
Y'all know I'm always catching a good quote while we're talking.
Oh, yeah. It's so good. So good.
And, for me, though, one of the things, especially, when you've engaged in public speaking for as long as I have, including not just for myself, but being a writer for other people and literally, quote, assuming their voice on paper.
Yeah.
And what that means and how that gets delivered vocally.
Yeah.
It's like, it's that whole, again, that dichotomy between what can be done for someone else versus what can be done for yourself.
Right.
And recognizing that sometimes you got to write that out for yourself, right?
Yes.
So that you can be able to say and do the things, because you may think, well, what does this have to do with your quote vocal, your actual voice? It has everything to do with it, because when you are containing yourself and not expressing yourself to your way, you literally can carry that tension.
Carry the tension. You can get the depression. Okay. When we talk about just express or depressed, everything just feels that much more effortful. And the tension in the voice is one of the things. It's hard for especially the folks who come to me and say their voice cracked or was so shaky, it's almost like their voice betrayed them. Like that just, And that's where we don't want to judge ourselves or our sound, because our voice is precious and it is so much of who we are, and it's not your fault. It's not there to try to betray you. But with the moment, and I love that you said, write it out. I'm a big fan of, like, as you're starting to write those things out of what is true for you, what you believe, how you want to show up and speak, you'll know the feeling of whether it is for you or not. And that gets into the intuition piece. When you know, yes, that is for me, or no, that's not, you have to decide and devote to choosing that and speaking from that place. So, some of y'all, if you've followed some of my work before, sometimes I give kind of the, half joking example of cilantro. Oh, see, I hate cilantro. I can believe. Okay.
I love cilantro.
Exactly. This is why this example is perfect. So it's one of those things where, okay, so we're just talking about an herb, big deal. But if I didn't acknowledge that physical response that I had and went on to say, oh, yeah, me too, Patricia, I do love cilantro. Yeah. Oh, we're going to totally have it in the guacamole next time. Like, this will be great. Can y'all, like, I can feel the tightness starting. I can feel it creep up. Some people will describe this as my voice stops here, or it gets stuck, or it sounds like I'm going to start to cry. Okay. There is emotion and release that needs to happen, but you are either choosing to acknowledge it or you're trying to avoid it. And so when it comes to intuition, one of the pieces of my work that I've started to bring forth more, that I do a lot with my one-on-one clients, is, do you know how to listen to that intuition? For me, it shows up a lot in my throat and actually in my like lower torso. Everybody's signals are different, but often I hear people talk about, okay, use your intuition, or trust your instinct. And I think actually those are two different things. But when it comes down to it, do you even know how to connect to that? And I just happen to use voice as a way to both connect to it and be a signal that you are on the right track with that for you. So that's kind of where that leads into when it comes to not only the empowerment piece that we really want to emphasize today, but whatever profession you find yourself in and you want to show up as that next level version of yourself, you need to be it and decide it from within first and speak it out. I'm a big fan of speaking those things into reality, because your voice will give that away, but not to betray you, but to show you what's possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was literally about to say, because sometimes, if you walk around the house, you'll be like, Patricia, who are you talking to? That's a common joke around our house. We'll ask, because we'll hear, one another, talking, and you're like, who are you talking to? Myself?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's really is, when you're having those thoughts and you're just like, they're just coming and you just want to get it out.
Yeah.
Because just like you would go practice that speech that you got to go give in front of people,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you practice when it's time for you to express for yourself?
Yeah.
And speak up for yourself?
Yeah.
And I don't mean practice in terms of, let me go make, but like literally letting that voice go free.
Yes. Exactly. This is where it's not about being scripty and
Exactly.
getting it all in any sort of format. It is, how does it feel to say that? Is that word feel good? Folks, we get to the point of being able to discern which word feels better. And I'm not saying, again, from every single word, but you just get to know so intimately, yeah, that feels like me. So bring it. Whatever I need to say, I will say. It will land how it's going to land. But all I know is that is resonant for me. And that's what matters, because that ripples out to others.
And that will help you to carry yourself better, to present yourself. Correct. And I'm being careful with my words, but better for yourself, right?
Yeah.
So that you feel that you're being authentic and genuine in how you deliver. Yeah. And that, again, this is a whole other conversation about mindset work and other things, but about how you can present for you, be true to you.
Yeah.
And
not be up in your head about it.
Not be up in your head about it.
Exactly.
And be empowered and feel that strength from that. Yeah. There's nothing, that feeling of being empowered.
Yes.
When you know that you have said this thing or done the thing, you're like, hey.
Yep. Exactly.
I did that,
exactly. Everyone's had that moment. I don't care whether it's just been something like you said something to a friend, or it was something that you were in the zone with, whatever. There's always been at least a moment, and being able to tap into that and allow your voice to carry that in frequency and vibration and energy, that will ripple out. And then you can just let it go, because whatever happens after that is not your business.
Yes. Oh my goodness. This one is so much. We're going to have to bring it to an end, because we can go on and on and on.
Okay. So give you guys a little taste. Yes. Of all the things. So I just want to say thank you again to Patricia for this beautiful series. It is just beyond generous with her time and her wisdom and the skills that she brings to this, but also the vulnerability and openness. Like I talked about last session, it's just a delight to know that is a space that she creates. So know when you're in her sphere, that is what you are going to receive. And as women, we were talking about before we even got on our session today, thank you, and receiving that wholly. So I appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. That's Southern coming. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. and I will say genuinely, because, we all need accountability partners in different areas. Like it can't be one person for everything, but when you find that person, engage, whatever, be open to receiving it. Brienne and I have had this conversation, but she is one of those biz besties who is my accountability person, because I'll get that whole little, so did you do? And I'm like, oh Lord, let me go do this before we get on our next call. But that helps you to be able to identify, and then we can get on and have these types of conversations, and from a genuine space, to help other people, right? That's literally it. So I hope you've been helped by it. I've been giving a leadership nugget for each one, and this one simply ends with the fact that you've got to make sure that you are an advocate for yourself, right? In whatever space, whatever that looks like, make sure that you are speaking up for you in all that you do and say, and just watch what flows from it. It's going to be some fantastic stuff.
Agreed. I love it.
been awesome. I don't know. We might have to come back around on this one, but
I
we'd love
know.
to hear from you
Yeah.
in the comments. Check out our information. You can connect up with either one of us from our bios. And just thank you for sharing. Let us know how this went for you. We'd love to hear back.
Yeah.
And with that, this series is come to an end for now.
I know, right? To be continued. I'm going to now normally sipping.
Sipping. Yes. Sip, sip, sip.
Thank y'all
Bye,
so much for
everyone.
joining in. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.